Chapter 43. The group was so engrossed in their conversation that they failed to notice the lifeless zombies, whose decaying bodies no longer emitted the putrid scent that would have alerted others of their presence. Unbeknownst to them, a horde of additional zombies was rapidly approaching from both directions. Lana, with her keen eyesight, spotted the approaching figures in the distance and quickly alerted the others, saying, "Oh, looks like we've got some unwanted company." As Lana's words hung in the air, Samara turned her head and realized that the zombies were not only coming from one direction, but also from the opposite side. She quickly chimed in, "Oh great, they're coming from that way too." The realization that they were surrounded by the undead sent a shiver down their spines. But Adelmo, ever the optimist, tried to lighten the mood, saying, "Well, at least there are 3 of us. This should make things a bit easier, right?" However, their momentary relief was shattered when a sudden noise pierced the air. Adelmo's face turned pale as he recognized the sound, realizing that it was a signal to summon more zombies. He nervously spoke up, That sound means trouble. Looks like we're going to have our work cut out for us this time." The group fell silent as the noise ceased, and they could hear the zombies scurrying closer, their footsteps growing louder with each passing second. It was clear that they were in for a fierce battle against the relentless undead. The group of survivors glanced up at the sky, realizing that it must be noon as the sun was positioned directly above them. Its intense rays cast a wide shadow that enveloped the area where they were standing. Adelmo, their quick-thinking member, suddenly had a brilliant idea that instantly popped into his mind. He urged everyone to gather in the center of the shadow, prompting them to move back and position themselves accordingly. As they adjusted their positions, Samara couldn't help but question Adelmo's suggestion. Curiosity filled her voice as she asked, "Why should we gather in the center of the shadow?" Adelmo, with a calm demeanor, responded by sharing his observations from a previous encounter. He had noticed that these peculiar creatures they were facing seemed unable to move when the sun wasn't directly shining upon them. Samara's understanding grew as she replied, "Ah, I see now." With a sense of urgency, the group swiftly scooted into the center of the shadow, aligning themselves with Adelmo's strategy. Samara's eyes scanned the surroundings, and her heart skipped a beat as she spotted the approaching zombies. Anxiety laced her words as she spoke again. "They're coming. I hope your theory holds true, Adelmo." Just as she finished her sentence, one of the zombies managed to break away from the pack and sprinted towards them, seeking refuge within the protective confines of the shadow. As the darkness enveloped them, the figures lurking within it dropped to the ground with a resounding thud. Adelmo watched as one of them, a grotesque zombie, made a faceplant just inches away from his feet. He couldn't help but feel a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. "What did I tell ya?" he exclaimed, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and triumph. Reacting swiftly, Adelmo adjusted his grip on the blade and drove the sword deep into the zombie's skull. The creature let out a guttural moan before finally succumbing to its demise. Meanwhile, Lana voiced her concerns about their predicament. "Well, this is all swell, but we're going to be trapped in here," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "They'll keep coming, and the bodies will keep piling up." Samara, however, remained calm and collected. "Let's deal with that when the time comes," she suggested, her voice steady and determined. "For now, this is our only defense." As if to prove her point, 2 more zombies approached from the shadows, their intentions clear. Lana and Samara swiftly dispatched them, plunging their swords into the creatures' skulls with precision. Lana couldn't help but express her boredom. "Wow, this is boring," she remarked, her voice tinged with a hint of restlessness. Adelmo, on the other hand, wore a peculiar expression on his face. He chuckled softly and replied, "You're usually the one with patience, not me." Lana shrugged, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "I don't know," she said, a playful tone in her voice. "Maybe there's something about kicking some zombie, but that makes me a little antsy." Adelmo couldn't help but smile as the next group of zombies emerged from the shadows, ready to face their fate. Without warning, They all plummeted face first into the earth, skidding to a halt. Frantically, they began dispatching their enemies as quickly as possible before reinforcements arrived. The bodies piled up so high that their view was obstructed, unable to see beyond the mound of fallen foes. In the distance, more adversaries appeared, but the towering heap of bodies shielded Adelmo, Lana, and Samara from their sight. The sudden onslaught left them with no choice but to defend themselves with all their might, striking down their foes one by one. The ground beneath them became slick with blood and mud as they fought to hold their ground. The mounting pile of fallen enemies grew taller and taller, creating a barrier that shielded them from the approaching threats in the distance. As more enemies closed in from afar, the trio realized that the only option left was to retreat in the opposite direction. With their path blocked by the growing pile of bodies, Adelmo, Lana, and Samara scrambled away, seeking safety from the encroaching danger. The chaotic scene unfolded as they made their escape, leaving behind a gruesome battlefield littered with fallen foes. As they glanced downwards, a chilling sight greeted their eyes. A pool of crimson liquid spread beneath their feet, emanating from two separate piles of lifeless bodies. Lana's voice trembled as she spoke, her words laced with a mix of fear and resignation. Well, it seems there are more of them, but unfortunately, we find ourselves trapped within this gruesome scene. The sun gradually descended towards the horizon, casting an eerie glow upon the macabre tableau. The bodies, once cold and motionless, began to warm up under its rays, releasing a putrid stench that permeated the air. The foul odor acted as a sinister invitation, attracting more of these grotesque creatures to converge upon the area, drawn by the scent of death and decay. Determination etched across his face. Adelmo wielded his weapon with fervor, hacking away at the lifeless corpses as if he were traversing a dense jungle. With each slice, severed body parts tumbled down, causing the pile to gradually diminish in height. As he cleared a path through the gruesome barricade, his gaze extended beyond the lifeless bodies, revealing a chilling sight. A horde of 30 more of these abominations lurking just beyond their reach, waiting to unleash their terror.